Now, I'm not sure if I'm right here, but I think I was told, I think by my dad, that you in once when you were commentating, you had an invasion in the commentary box, or someone did. And was that
Yeah,
you?
that's quite right. Yeah,
What
that's Grand
like
National as well.
can you tell me what happened that day and how they got in and what actually happened, if you don't mind saying?
No, so it was the Grand National, Comply or Dies Grand National, and they were at the start. We were doing the parade, and there'd been a slightly lazy security guard at the bottom of our steps all week, and we'd had someone walk up there by accident. And anyway, to cut a long story short, he obviously wasn't where he should have been, and our lad came in looking a little bit the worse for wear, which was fine because myself and we did have a spotter there. I had a girl called Nikki with me who was helping us out, and so we sort of said to him, "What are you doing here?" And then as we spoke to him, one after the other, and they were 11 lads who were on a stag do. Half of them were absolutely gone beyond recall, and it was so late. There was no way we could get them kicked out. I mean, they were at the start, and the last thing I wanted was to have half an eye on that. So Nikki, who could be quite fearsome, said the deal was they could watch it from the commentary box, but under no circumstances would there be a peep out of any of them. And I think, to be fair to them, I think they were quite intimidated as to where they'd ended up. It wasn't anything deliberate to storm the commentary box. It was just where they'd ended up. So yeah, that national Comply or Die was done with 13 people in the commentary box, 11 of whom were on a stag do. And I think probably most of them to this day wouldn't have a living memory of it. And certainly it must have been pre-social media days, because none of them had their phones out or anything like that you get these days. And at the end, they sort of politely nodded, and a couple who were more sober said thank you, looked a bit stunned, and walked off down the steps. So it's one of the more surreal racecourse memories, but thankfully it all ended well. But it wasn't, the sense of dread as they kept coming in the door, literally when they're about to jump away, was it was quite intimidating, really. But
Maybe
thankfully Nikki was up seeing them off.
maybe Nikki was the person who, when she said there won't be a peep, the guys realised, right, we're not going to say anything. Yeah.
No, you wouldn't cross Nikki. She was pretty fearless. But it does remain one of the more amusing stories as to how they. Well, it wasn't how they got the steps, because I mean, they only need them to turn left by accident. But it's pretty obvious you're not meant to be there. Everyone thinks commentary boxes are palatial. They're not. You're often going up narrow corridors and lots of steps and windy passages to end up in the roof, effectively. But yeah, it was quite amusing. But as I say, normally you'd find someone to get a phone out or things like that these days. But it was quite a long time. Well, Comply or Die's year is what, pushing 12, 13 years ago. So social media wasn't quite as rife then. But I often wonder if one day I'll bump into one of the 11 who'll come up to me and say, by the way.
By the way, I was in the comedy box with you.
Yeah, I honestly think some of them were in such a state by 3:45 that Lord only knows what they'd have been in by the end of the day. So I don't think any of them remember it. But maybe somebody tells the story the way around about on his stag do how he blundered into the commentary box on Grand National Day at Aintree. I don't know, but I've never met them. But certainly from our side, it was a memorable experience. But thankfully a good one, as I say. They behaved themselves perfectly. So fair play.
What